Hello, everyone. My name is Julie, and I am one of Christian Assembly's Kingdom Partners. And it is a privilege to be able to send today's Daily Touch Point. Our reading for today comes from Mark chapter 6, and the whole chapter, it needs to be read, so I encourage you to do that. There's so many stories throughout these verses that are just rich, and Jesus, who is both man and God, is doing miracles. He's moved with compassion. He sees the hungry, and he is not limited in the ways that when we see something and see the need and feel like there's not enough, he takes loaves of bread and fish and somehow multiplies it so that there's plenty. And I mean, that's who Jesus is, but also throughout these scriptures, these passages, is the disciples. It's the friends of Jesus, the followers of Jesus, who are overwhelmed by the need, overwhelmed by the situations that feel impossible, really. And I think about, even for us, like, what are the situations around us or within us that feel impossible, that feel like they're not going to get better, that seem so frightening that we lose sleep at night or just have trouble getting through the day. And I just wonder if we can find comfort in the same way that these followers of Jesus all these years ago, with all of their struggles, with all of their doubts, with all of their fear, if we too can find the comfort and find the faith like they eventually did from Jesus. So there's one passage I want to read that starts in verse 45. It says, "As soon as the meal was finished, Jesus insisted that the disciples get in the boat and go ahead across to Bethsaida while he dismissed the congregation." So there had been a multitude of people, and he had done all this teaching, but he was also really concerned that they were hungry, and so he didn't want them to go hungry. So he took the 5 loaves of bread and the 2 fish, and somehow he gave thanks, broke it, and it fed the crowd, and there was more than enough. And so after sending the disciples off, he climbed a mountain to pray. So after he had this incredible time with the multitudes where miracles happened, he went to pray. He sent the disciples into the sea. So then it says, late at night, the boat was far out at sea. Jesus was still by himself on land. He could see the men struggling with the oars, the wind having come up against them. At about 4 o'clock in the morning, Jesus came toward them, walking on the sea. He intended to go right by them, but when they saw him walking on the sea, they thought it was a ghost and screamed, scared to death. Jesus was quick to comfort them. "Courage, it's me. Don't be afraid." As soon as he climbed into the boat, the wind died down. They were stunned, shaking their heads, wondering what was going on. They didn't understand what he had done at the supper. None of this had yet penetrated their hearts. So when I think about this story and how often I've heard it since the time I was a little girl, I think I often thought that when Jesus walked on the water and he comes towards these terrified disciples in their boats in the middle of the storm, that when Jesus said, "Courage, it's me, don't be afraid," that it was somehow a rebuke for their fear. But as a mother, I think about when my children are afraid, when there's something, either they've had a nightmare or there's something that's overwhelming them in a way that is so scary, how often, I will pick them up, wrap my arms around them, and tell them, Tell them it's okay. It's going to be okay. Don't be afraid. I'm right here. I'm right here. I'm right here. I'm wondering, because that's never a rebuke. That's just a reminder that they're safe and loved. And I wonder at times if that might not be more of what the spirit that Jesus was talking to his friends, almost as a brother or a father, reminding them to take courage. It's going to be okay. I'm right here. I'm strong and I'm here, and I don't know exactly what the context is or, what the tone of it is, but I imagine how earlier in this chapter, how it talks about when Jesus saw the need, that he was moved with compassion and he saw the people like they were sheep without a shepherd. If there might not be a peace that is similar, of compassion, that this was compassion calling the disciples to not be afraid. So friends, I encourage you again to read this passage of scripture and ask for God's Spirit to speak to you, and may you be encouraged.